Sorry for just a minute here. Thank you all for coming out. Appreciate you guys being here. Before they start, I just want to thank everybody for being here. Principal Steinmiller, I want to express my appreciation to college and career coach, members of our counseling team for putting these types of events together. The importance of the junior year leading into post-secondary opportunities starting now is ideal. And I know that they're going to provide quite a few resources for you. And I'll navigate those next steps. It's really exciting. It's nerve-wracking. But we're starting to hear from the seniors, hey, I accepted this, and this is where I'm going to go, and scholarships, and all that energy that is coming from it. And so it's building up. We're going to have then our day for where our seniors will say which university they're officially going to, and our selection day. So we have a lot of things going on, but again, I know it's right before break. We've got a lot of things going on, but for our team members to be here, I just appreciate y'all. I just wanted to say thank you. So give them a round of applause for me. So without further ado, I'm going to a Friends Up meeting, and then I'm going to an election thing, and going to another thing. So thank you.
All right, everybody. Thanks for coming out. I know it seems weird that for a small group, we're using a microphone. I'm going to ask all the presenters to do that just because we are also live streaming it. I want to make sure that they catch everything that's being said. So I'm Chris Merle, one of the counselors here at Lincoln Park High School. Appreciate you guys all coming out. What we're going to do tonight is go over a lot of the post-secondary planning. So talking about life after Lincoln Park, which is crazy because I'm sure many of you feel like you're just bringing your students here for the first time. But it is time to start thinking about what comes next. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a bunch of speakers tonight, an activity, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. But the way we start this evening out is with an activity. And so I've enlisted my two fellow people from Lincoln Park here, but now I need 7 volunteers. I promise I will not put you on the hot seat. The only thing you need to know is numbers and which numbers are bigger and which numbers are less. So can I get 7 volunteers up here, please? Oh, we got one more counselor here, so I need 6 volunteers. Come on up. If you feel bold, come on up. Like I said, I promise. All you have to do is read. All you have to do is know numbers. You? Thank you. All right, I need 2 more volunteers. No, stay up here. Stay up here. I need 2 more volunteers, please. Please. All right, need 1 more volunteer. I promise you it's easy. It's easy. 1 more volunteer. Thank you. All right. So basically what this activity is, we call it the Great Sorting Game. And so I'm an admissions counselor at a very prestigious school. And basically what you're going to see is a model of the admission process. What we go through as we're looking at applications, everything like that. So step 1 is to align yourselves in order of highest here on my left, on your right, the lowest GPA. And on each of your pieces of paper, the GPA is on top. So 4.0 here all the way on my left, your right, back down. All All right, let's give it to our volunteers, a round of applause for getting in line. So basically what I'm gonna be doing is, reading some, traits based upon each of my individual students. On their sheets of paper, it has all of the traits on there. So if you want to glance at the traits and kind of get a little bit familiar with them, as I read them out, I will have you move left and right. So the first one, if you have taken an exceptionally strong academic program, you are going to move 2 places to your right. Correct. All right. Now, if you play the oboe, or viola, I want you to move 1 place to the right. If you clearly stated that this college was your first choice by making an early decision, application, and commitment, you are going to move 2 spaces to your right. If your intended major is psychology or pre-med, move 1 space to your left. If your intended major is Greek, move 2 spaces to the right. If you do not know any of your teachers well and have trouble finding someone to write your college recommendation, move 2 spots to your left. All right. If, when you word processed your college essay, you forgot to change the name of the college you were applying to, move 4 spots to your left. If you are a legacy, move 2 spots to the right. If you don't know, legacy means you have a parent who went to that school and graduated. If you did not write the optional essay for your college application, move 1 spot to your left. If the topic of your college essay was what I learned from playing sports, move 1 spot to your left. If you wrote the essay of the year, one that was passed around the entire admissions office, it was so remarkable, move 3 spots to your right. If you plagiarized the AP American History paper and got caught, sit down. You are out of the competition entirely. If you'll be the first in your family to attend college, move 2 spots to the right. If you participated in an enriching summer program between your junior and senior years, move 2 spots to your right. If you participated in no extracurricular activities, move 3 spots to your left. If you have participated in a significant community service project, move 1 spot to your right. If you are an Eagle Scout, move 2 spots to your right. If you are a varsity athlete, move 2 spots to your right. And if you are a varsity athlete and took 2nd place at regionals in your sport, you can move up 1 more. If you got a D in an academic course at the end of your junior year, move 3 spots to your left. If you came to the college information session and introduced yourself to the college representative, and in the case of the student who just got the D, explained extenuating circumstances, move 1 place to your right. If you are a legal resident of Idaho, move 3 spots to your right. If you never gave your counselor any personal information for use in writing your college recommendation, move 1 spot to your left. If your last name is Gates and the name on the college library is Gates and it's not a coincidence, move all the way to the front and stay there. All right, now you remember at the beginning, we had everyone line up, left to right, highest to lowest GPA. You can now open your sheet here and show everyone what GPA you have.
I'm up.
But as you can see, GPA is important because it helps where you initially start, but it is not the only thing that we look at. There are a lot of other factors that go into it. So thank you to my volunteers who collect those. Please give them a round of applause. Thank you guys. I really appreciate you coming up. I told you it would be too hard. All right. So the reason why we do that activity is number one, to show there are a lot of different things that go into the admissions process. And the admissions officers are reading through applications. They are looking at more than just what classes you took, how you did. There's a lot that goes into it. And this is just a small representation of it. Now, as some of them, I heard some people laughing, heard there was some confusion, like, why, if you're from the state of Idaho, did you get to move up 3 spots? The reason why is a lot of colleges look at different things. One of the things that some colleges will look at is making sure that they have an alumni base that's broad across the country, because again, that's going to strengthen their institution. And so some things are inside your control, some things are outside of your control. Like the oboe or what was the other? Viola. Sometimes a band is looking for a specific instrument. If it just happens that you play that instrument, maybe your GPA might not be as important because they really want you if you're a top rated musician. So there's a lot of things that go into this. Were there any questions about some of the things you heard, or anything that you want clarification on? Yes. The question is the legacy thing still legal? They will say that it is frowned upon, and they don't use it as an official metric, but we see things all the time, and so I would be hesitant to say it's absolutely not looked at, but I know it's not as important as it is. Any other questions?
About your your major.
Great question. Does it really matter what your major is? One of the questions said, if you are psychology or pre-med, move down one. So what we usually say is, it matters because of how many students are applying to the school with that major. Pre-med and psychology tend to be popular. Even pre-med isn't really a major anymore in most schools. It's usually a track or a program. But if you don't know what you want to go into or don't have a solid reason, most students will choose psychology. Will choose something like that. What we want to do is really help you to figure out, number one, what you might want to study, because that will always help you when you're doing your application. But number two, figure out what schools are looking. One of the things that I've heard from a lot of admissions counselors is if you're getting inundated with emails about a specific program at a school, like, a school is promoting their latest engineering tech program, that means it might be a new program and they're really looking to admit people into it. So if you notice those trends as you're getting those overwhelming amount of emails, that is something to take note of. And if it's interesting to you, that might be a school that you want to put onto your list. So there's a lot that goes into it. We're not going to cover it all tonight, but that's one reason to get to your counselor. So we can have these conversations with students and with parents as we go through everything. But without further ado, let me go over officially what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be talking about the changes in the FAFSA process, scholarship program information, general information for the class of 25, the requirements and college application process, timeline for the college application, and then question and answer session at the end. So we're going to start by having Ms. Powers come up. She is with the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, and I will turn it over to her.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Lauren. It's my second year working with. Okay. This is my second year working here at Lincoln Park High School. I have worked pretty closely with Mr. Young over there, college career coach. And yeah, exactly what you said. I primarily work with helping students navigate the process when it comes to their senior year, helping them provide for FAFSA, figuring out what types of financial aid is accessible to them and so forth. So this presentation is pretty brief. It's just to go over what you can expect to need when the FAFSA rolls around. Likely this comes in the fall. You may or may not be aware that there were a lot of changes this past year with the FAFSA form. So we'll be going over, like what this form looks like, how it's structured, what information you need. Okay, so a little bit about my agency. We are the College Access and Financial Aid Agency in Illinois. I'm in an outreach position with our agency. We're circulated all around the state. We're stationed in a lot of different schools, so it's just good to be aware that we exist. We also provide different grants and tuition repayment programs. Okay, very broadly, the types of financial aid you can expect to see or get from your FAFSA once you apply. So there's gift aid and self-help aid. Gift aid, pretty self-explanatory. It's money that you were given. It is not expected to be paid back. Generally comes in the forms of grants and scholarships. And then we also have self-help aid. That money is going to be borrowed or earned in the form of federal student loans or federal work study. So federal work study, just to plug in a little bit, because I think it's a really great opportunity for students. It's basically on-campus employment that you can opt into at your respective college or university. So if you know that you're a student or you as a student where you're going to have to work to support yourself a little while you're in school, this can be a good way to have flexible employment that understands that you are a student first, and it is very convenient because it's on campus. Okay, so these are the big grants. So next year is going to be 24-25 academic year. These are the grant amounts as of this year, the 23-24 year. The recent trend has been that these grant amounts increase just as cost of living and tuition is also increasing. So this is the current amounts. They could change, but this is where they're at right now. This is current information we have. So first we have the Illinois Monetary Award Program, more commonly referred to as the grant. So you hear either of those referring to the same thing. That amount is currently held at $8,400 as the eligible maximum. We also have the federal Pell Grant. That amount is a little under $7,400. So if you were applying for the FAFSA is the eligibility tool to see if you qualify for these grant amounts. And you can receive up to these maximums depending on your level of financial need. So between these two amounts, you're looking at a little under $16,000 if you qualify for the maximum. That is a very substantial amount of money. Tuition is very expensive sometimes. So this is why we encourage students and families to keep an eye out for the FAFSA, to be applying as this comes out as soon as possible, because these grants are first come, first serve. It is not to freak you out. These amounts generally, they're reserved for about a year or so before they start to run out. But it's in your best interest. It's also just a stressor off to apply as soon as you can once the applications are open. Sorry, next question. So the question was, do you need to be accepted into a school before you apply to the FAFSA? No, you don't need to be accepted. We honestly encourage you to put down every school you are applying to or even thinking about applying to. If they receive the information from your FAFSA and you don't end up going to the institution or you are not accepted, they don't do anything with it. It just kind of sits there. They won't use it. It's just they'll have it. A good question. Okay, so a little bit of an overview of the financial aid process. So students right now are kind of in the thick of it just because there were so many delays with it being released this year. We do not expect that this coming year because they just updated the form. So from what I have heard, we can likely expect it to shift back into the fall. I'm not going to say for a fact it's October 1st. I do not know yet, but I would anticipate that it would be released sometime this fall, the 24-25 or the 25-26. Wow. So that will likely release sometime October, November. Then you would be needing to complete verification with colleges. We're not going to go too in depth with that. It's kind of exactly what it sounds like, though. Some colleges may follow up with your student for extra verification documents to ensure that their FAFSA data was accurate. Then after that, your student would be receiving and reviewing financial aid offers. Typically, that would be February if we're on a normal timeline. Right now, students are still trying to receive their award letters, but for your students next year, probably sometime winter, spring, depending on when they're receiving their acceptances. And then after that, it's up to the student to respond to their colleges, make the appropriate acceptances, and decline offers to ensure that there's space for other students at those schools to fill those vacancies, and then any pending processes. So there's a lot of things to think about when you are trying to wrap up your acceptances. So things like housing agreements, submitting immunizations, if you were planning to take out federal loans, there's a couple other processes you have to do before they disperse those loans to your account. So they'll make you aware of what you need to do, but just know that even once you receive your award letter, there are a few things to wrap up before you're prepared to be on campus to start your academic year. Okay, so most of you should be familiar with the FAFSA. It stands for the Free Application for Federal Student Aid. It is the financial aid application that the students apply to. It is available at no cost, so please do not pay anyone to help you with your FAFSA application. My agency is a free service that helps students and families complete their FAFSA. So if you're looking for extra help, if you have questions, don't pay someone. There are free services out there, so there's no need to. It's used to apply for federal financial aid programs, so that Pell Grant I mentioned, as well as federal student loans, federal work study. And then the FAFSA in the state of Illinois is also used to opt students in to be considered for the MAP grant. So it's all one application. So it considers you for federal, state, and then institutional aid as well most of the time. They will just use that sort of as the blanket application for all types of aid. The state of Illinois also offers the alternative application for qualified and documented students. So I'd like to make the distinction now that you apply for one or the other. If you qualify to complete the FAFSA, it opts you into more potential aid for yourself. This is for students who are ineligible to complete the FAFSA. Again, this is available at no cost. It's modeled after the FAFSA, so it's very similar in terms of what it's going to be asking. But it is only for Illinois financial aid, so it would only be for the MAP grant and then any institutional aid that the student may qualify for. So what information will you actually be needing to complete the FAFSA or alternative app? So for the FAFSA only, you would be needing your social security number. They did put in place a new process this year for parents without social security numbers. That was kind of one of the biggest shifts that they made. So now parents who don't have a social security number would indicate so in a checkbox that they provide when creating their account. All parents must create an account if they have a dependent student. And then you would have to enter or answer a set of identity verification questions. And then if you have a different visa designation, such as permanent residency or green card, you would have to use the aid number they provide you on that visa. For FAFSA and alternative application alike, you will be needing your federal tax return information. So for the 25-26 cycle, it uses prior information. So you would need 2023 taxes, everybody's we're filing for right now, as well as any other records of income, banking statements, and so forth. That process is a little more automated now. It's much easier. Manual entry is kind of fewer and far between. It still exists, but hopefully this takes out a lot of the legwork. It's mostly just pressing an approval button. And then lastly, list of colleges a student would like to attend. So as mentioned, even if the student has yet to be accepted or they're kind of on the fence or thinking of applying and you want to get the FAFSA out of the way, just put the college down. There's no penalty for listing colleges, and the student can list up to 20. Will you be needing parent information? Most commonly, yes. If your student's living at home with you, you're providing them financial support, then yes, most students are considered dependents until they are 24 years old, unless they can answer yes to these special circumstances they list on the FAFSA. So for FAFSA purposes, this is how they define parent. I know that doesn't encompass everyone's living situation, but for financial aid purposes, this is how they choose to define that. So if your student is dependent, if you are a parent, if you are biological, adoptive, or a step parent married to biological or adoptive parent, that is who would be listed as the parent contributor on the FAFSA form. Even if the student has been living with a legal guardian, a sibling, a grandparent for a long time, they would not be required to list that guardian as a parent contributor. That student would likely have an independent designation. So what if parents are unmarried, just some common scenarios in households, parents are unmarried, but living together, you would need to report information and create FSA ID accounts for both parents and report their respective tax information. If parents are divorced or separated, you would have to report the parent who provides the child the most financial support in the last 12 months. What sections should you complete? So they formatted the form a little bit differently with the update. So students and parents, as I mentioned, must log in with their own FSA IDs to their respective sections. There is a student section and a parent section that you log into on each account, but it's the same form. So how that looks like is the student will complete their student section. There's a place to invite the parent contributor with their FSA ID information. They send the invite virtually, complete their student section, then the parent will log in with their account, see there's an invitation from their student, and then open up their portion of the application and submit it that way. So it's a little bit more steps, but it's a little bit more straightforward once you actually see the format of the application. Your FSA ID suffices as the electronic signature, so that's why it's important to have those accounts created and verified. And dependent students won't see a submit button until the parent section is complete, so it does require a bit of communication with your parent. How do you report your tax return information? So everyone must provide authorization for their tax information to be shared from the IRS to federal student aid. It's a little bit what I described earlier with this process being more automated. It takes the legwork out of it, so you're not sitting there trying to input your aggregate income, things like that. It just kind of does that process for you on the back end. So you press that approval button. That is very important. If you, for some reason, you or your parent decide not to give the authorization, that would make you ineligible to receive and be considered for financial aid. So please make sure you are giving that approval because that is important for your eligibility. This unfortunately does not apply to the alternative app. The alternative app is a state form, so if you do have to use the alternative app, the process is a little bit more manual. You just have yet to make those types of updates. So why are you guys doing this? What does this all generate? So when you complete and submit your FAFSAs, it will give you an output form called a FAFSA submission summary. And on the summary is going to be something called the Student Aid Index. Some of you may be more familiar with the terminology expected payment contribution. They have since shifted it to this terminology. So just be familiar with this acronym. That's what it's going to refer to as. It's the same number. It essentially tells you what the student and the family reasonably contribute towards their education. The SAI, opposed to the EFC, can now be a negative number to demonstrate families with higher amounts of financial need to qualify them for more types of needs-based financial aid. So that's kind of a major change that's been happening with this number. But as I mentioned, this number is very important. It's important that the summary has a number listed on it. This is what your financial aid offices are going to use to generate a financial aid offer for you. So once the time comes, it's just important that you see a number listed on that summary document. So just as review, who does this apply to? High school seniors. When you all become seniors next year, you will need to be filing your FAFSA. It is the graduation requirement, also in the state of Illinois, as well as each year that you're in college. It is an annual thing you will need to reapply for so long as you want to continue being a recipient of financial aid. These are the trusted websites that you can go to, so FAFSA.gov or studentaid.gov. If you go to Mr. Young's room, it's listed everywhere on the whiteboard, so even if you forget, you got somewhere you can go. That's the alternative app handle. When do you need to complete this? Hopefully as soon as it's released, upon its release, but also you have a good amount of time, so there's no reason to get stressed out if you don't do it until it's open. That money will still be there for you. So as soon as you reasonably can upon its release for the next cycle. And then again, this is just all to determine your aid eligibility. It's not guaranteed, it really is mostly dependent on the level of financial need for the grants at least. But if you're applying for FAFSA, you are opting in to be a recipient of federal student loans as well as federal work study. Basically, all up to you if you want to take those things out. This is just an additional resource my agency offers. It's called the ISAC Student Portal. Anything affiliated with ISAC will be free. So this is a good tool to use if you'd like to be privy to the types of scholarships that we offer, different grant programs, as well as just college preparation, money management type resources. So if that's of interest to you, you are welcome to make a free account located on the high school website. This is just another review of these handles. So I listed studentaid.gov up there, FAFSA.gov. It'll get you to the same spot as well as the student portal handle. Then another resource that we offer through iTech is called the First Generation Scholars Network. So if you, as a student, are going to be the first person in your family pursuing some type of post-secondary ed, that could be community college, it could be going to a four-year college or university, trade vocational program. If you are new at navigating that process and are looking for any type of additional support, we have this type of mentorship network available with our agency. You'd be connected with other first-gen graduates and first-gen professionals that can kind of help guide you, link you up to resources that would be available on your campus for first-gen support. So if that's of interest as well, you can locate that on the ISAC website. And that's my contact information. I'm found in Mr. Young's room every Wednesday as well during the day. So that's it for me, and we'll have some questions at the end. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Powers. I forgot to mention at the beginning, we will be posting this video as well as all of the slide decks on the website tomorrow, so you will have access to everything. So if you miss something as it comes up, please do not panic. Next, we are going to introduce Mr. Lopez Cabrera, who is going to be talking about CPS and scholarships.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Rene Lopez, and I am the scholarship specialist for Chicago Public Schools, which means I work with all CPS students across the district to support them through the college process, college planning, college application, and help them find scholarships that connects them to what they want to do after they are done with high school. So today's presentation is going to briefly go over some of the resources that we have to offer. And if you have any questions, again, we'll hold them to the end and we'll try to answer as many questions as possible. So we're going to start by celebrating the class of 2023. So last year's graduating class, together, they were able to receive over $2 billion in scholarships. So that's $2 billion that they were able to raise together with all the high schools that we partner with, as well as charter schools. So we wanted to make sure that we celebrate them, which means that our CEO is expecting us to surpass this goal this year. So with all of your support and all of your college scholarship applications, we'll be able to surpass $2 billion for the class of 2024. Just wanted to throw that out there as a challenge. So scholarship resources, we always want to start with providing you all with all the information that we're going to go over today. So you can either take a screenshot of this. If you want to do it now, you can send us an email to collegescholarships@cps.edu, and you're going to receive a link to today's presentation. And you're going to also receive a link to all the resources that I'm going to go over today. So again, if you wanted to take a screenshot, you can. If you want to send us an email later today, again, you're going to send that email to collegescholarships@cps.edu. In the subject line, you're going to write scholarship session, and that's it. Just click send, do not put anything in the body. You're going to receive an auto response, and that auto response is going to look like this. Okay, so the auto response is going to look like this. It's going to have all the resources that we have to offer, and we're going to go over today. It's going to have our sign up for our manager email blast. Our email blast is an email blast that you sign up. You allow us to send you, the parent, or the student an email every Friday. This email is going to have a list of scholarships whose deadline is coming up within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So for students, we still have some time to apply for those scholarships. These scholarships have been vetted by the scholarship team at CPS, which means that you are not looking for scholarships that might be fraudulent. You're not doing a lot of the research on your own. We've done all the heavy work for all of you, which means we just share those scholarships with all of you, and that goes through an email blast that goes out every Friday. So you can go ahead and sign up through our email blast, and I'll show you what that looks like in the next slide. And then the other thing that I wanted to highlight is our fourth bullet point on here, which is our CPS award workbook. That's a scholarship award workbook. That is a workbook that is live. It's constantly changing. We're always adding new scholarships. So we'll highlight what that looks like in the next slides. So this is our email blast. It is going to be a Google form. You're going to go ahead and click on that link, and it's going to take you to a Google form. It's going to ask you for your name, your email, the school. If you are a parent, they'll have a drop-down menu. You'll say I'm a parent, and then it'll ask you for what class you want to get scholarship information for. If you have two students at a CPS high school, you'll have to do the form twice for each student, but you will get vetted scholarships through this resource. And then this is our workbook. So as you all can see in the bottom of the arrows, we break down every month through all the scholarships whose deadlines are coming up in that month. So we start with, so for example, we currently have March, April, May, and June open. So these are all scholarships that are currently open and available for all seniors to apply for. We also have a tab for 9th to 11th grade scholarships. I don't know if you all knew, but you can start gathering scholarship money from the moment that students enter into 6th grade. So students are eligible to find scholarships during their junior year, during their freshman year, during their sophomore year, but obviously heavily during their senior year. And we have a breakdown of those scholarships at the bottom. So you'll be able to track that progress. So the scholarship alert workbook it has the deadline of the scholarship, the description of the scholarship, what is required for you to apply for the scholarship, how much the scholarship is for, and a link to apply to the scholarship. So you're not doing anything else except opening the workbook and clicking on the application and reviewing what those requirements are. We currently have over 150 scholarships that are still open for seniors to apply for. In total, we have over 300 scholarships on our workbook. Like I said, it is a live document, so we constantly are always looking for scholarships to promote to students. We were able to find a lot of scholarships for students interested in arts programs, which we had not done in the past, and we hope to increase our scholarship offerings to all of you, so you can find something that you're interested in that you can apply for. So this is what we do when we're vetting scholarships. Just wanted to highlight that about 20% of all scholarship offerings are fraudulent scholarships. So that's 20% of all scholarships available are out there to steal your personal information. So what do we do when we're vetting scholarships? We avoid websites that ask you for your bank information, your social security number, anything that is personal to you. If it says guaranteed win, or if it's asking you to pay to apply for anything, or if it's asking you that they're going to send you your payment via PayPal, Zelle, any of those electronic platforms, we avoid those websites, and we ask that you send them to us so we can report them to the right authorities, because those are fraudulent applications, those are fraudulent websites, fraudulent applications, and they're there to steal students' information. So remember, about 20% of those scholarships offerings are fraudulent scholarships. So just make sure that you are aware and try to follow these 5 steps when you are doing the applications. These are the websites that we always highlight as part of the websites that we use and we encourage students to utilize when looking for scholarships. So we have our CPS Internal Academic Works, which houses all our internal CPS scholarships. We also have School-Links, which is a new platform that students are using to track their post-secondary progress from all the way from elementary school all the way through their college, high school graduation. But we're hoping that next year they'll be able to also utilize this as they enter into their first year of college. We're hoping that that's something that's going to come up, but for now, they're only able to track it all the way up to their senior year, and that is called School-Links. There's also a revamp that just happened for parents to have access to School-Links. I don't know if you all received an email about that communication, but if you haven't, let us know, and we can share the communication with all of you. We also have UNICEF, HSF, College Greenlight, Big Future Education Planner, and then for junior students interested in additional support, we also wanted to highlight COSTI and Chicago Scholars as another option to receive scholarship opportunities and scholarship opportunities to apply for. So some of the best strategies that we definitely want to do is when you are applying for schools, try to look at schools that provide a scholarship that is given to CPS students. So these are some of the schools that we wanted to highlight that provide scholarships attached to CPS students. So again, look at this list. It is a varied list from private schools, public schools, in-state, out-of-state, community colleges. These schools come with a scholarship attached to it because the student that applied to it is a CPS graduate. These amounts vary from $1,000 up to $50,000 in scholarships, just because they apply to the school and they are a CPS graduate. I also wanted to highlight the STAR Scholarship. The STAR Scholarship is it's a 2-year scholarship to one of the city colleges in Chicago. The cool thing with the STAR scholarship is that if you do receive the scholarship at a city college, you can transfer it into one of their partner universities, and then you'll be able to carry some of that scholarship additional money into one of the universities that you'll be going to. And then lastly, make sure that when you're applying for scholarships, you make a plan so you understand what you need to do before applying for scholarships. So you need to understand what they're asking you for, what you need to submit, what things you need to accomplish to be able to fully complete the application. Make copies of everything you submit. We're always running into issues where something happens in the database, things get erased, things get deleted, and not everything gets submitted at a proper time. So we just definitely want to make sure that you have copies of everything you are submitting. And then lastly, make sure that you read everything and you understand what you're trying to apply for, what you need to do, and make sure that the students are always checking their emails. That is the most important thing we wanted to highlight. Make sure that you all check your emails. Scholarship providers will only contact you via your email. They were not going to call you. They're not going to text you. They're not going to show up to your house. So check your emails. And then lastly, this is our social media handles. If you want to follow us through social media, you can follow us at CPS Scholarships. We highlight winners from the past of scholarships. We highlight new scholarships. We also want to revamp our social media. So hopefully in the future, we'll be offering internship opportunities as well as job placement opportunities for students that are currently in college. And then if you want to take a screenshot of this has all our resources. So this has our QR code, so everything we have to offer for CPS students. And then that's it for me. Any questions, Susan?
Hello, good evening. You can actually put a face to email. I'm Mr. Young, the college and career coach. You've probably been receiving emails from me about different opportunities. Hopefully, I got a thumbs up, so thank you very much, sir. I have tried to share as much information in regards to things that are happening through the summer, events like this that are happening at our school, because we want you all to be involved, obviously, in your students' post-secondary life and also to their schooling. But what I want to touch on is, this is a program called Learn, Plan, Succeed. So when seniors get to their final 3 or 4 months, they have to be able to choose a pathway that they're going to enter into. It's going to be a variation of 6 pathways. One starting off with college. All right, so these are the 6 pathways that they look at in terms of for CPS that qualify for pathways that students can actually go into. All right, the number one for we've actually for our past graduating class, 89% of our students from last year's graduation class actually went into a college, so 2-year 4. Okay, employment, so they'll work right after they graduate from high school. They may join a trade or apprenticeship, so that would be going into plumbing, construction, something along those lines. A job training program, so if they don't get a job right away after school, they can go into a job training program. There's one job corps that helps students able to learn different skill sets, and then also as well too help them find job opportunities while they're getting it done as well. A gap year program, so that's when the student takes a year off, but then they're doing a volunteer service through a special program that maybe takes them out of the country or maybe even out of the state. And then lastly, students who are interested in going to the military, so Army, the Navy, the Air Force, right? 11% of our students who graduated from our graduating class from last year, they joined these 5 other areas or 5 other pathways. So that's why it was very essential and important if we have a college fair, we want the students to come out and see those different types. All right. I'll be talking a little bit later, but I'm going to pass this off to you.
My name is Aileen Murphy, I'm one of the counselors. And I'm going to talk a little bit, we're going to transition into college now. And I am going to talk a little bit about what students should be doing up until junior year, up until the end of the year. So we did meet with the students earlier in the fall and introduce them to School Weeks, which is our new post-secondary application. Many of you that you remember Naviance, if you had older students, School Weeks has replaced that. So these links are active when you do get the presentation. That is the link for students to access their schoolings. Most of them do know how to do that already. We also just wanted to give you the links to the College Board websites because those are other important tools that your students will be using. As Mr. Lopez alluded to, they have recently opened up the parent access to schools. So you may want to take a picture of this. So the website is just cps.edu/parents, and you will be able to log into school links. You will have to follow these steps, indicate that you forgot your password. It'll ask you some questions. You want to use the email address that the school uses for you, okay? Because that is how they match up the information. So the email you gave to the school that you use for your parent portal, that you get Dr. Steinmiller's emails in, that is the email that school links will give you, okay? That top where it says parent access to school links, when you get this presentation, that is a hyperlink. There is a 2-page explanation of this process in there, and it is in several languages, okay? So this is like the brief steps, but there is more detail if you want to pull it, okay? But this will give you access to view what your students are doing in schools. Okay, so when we started talking to your students about school links in the fall, the first activity we did with them revolved around making a college list. So we focused a lot on that step 1, figuring out what is important. We want your students to think about what they want in a college, not just the name, okay? So I'm looking for a college that offers a program in English. I'm looking for a college that has these types of activities. I'm looking for a college that has this type of geography or whatever it is that's important to your student. Not because there's anything wrong with U of I, DePaul, UIC, or whatever else they're going to name off the top of their head, but we want them to kind of broaden their horizons and really think about what it is that they want in a school, and then use those criteria to see what kinds of schools are out there. There are thousands of schools in this country. One of them that you haven't heard of yet may be the one that's perfect for you. So we really do want our students to do that broad search, and that's what we encourage them to start in the fall. So as they do that search, school links will produce a list of colleges that meet those criteria. What we want students to do, as simple as clicking a heart to remind them to look more at that school later, right? Clicking the heart just adds it to a list on school links. Doesn't commit you to anything, okay? It just adds it to a list on school links so that you remember to look at it more. So we encourage students to play with this. If you're not sure whether you want to be in the city or the country, do a search for the city, do a search for the country, right? So play with it. See what types of schools come up. See what is out there, okay? So that's what the students hopefully have done some of already. If they have, when you go into your parent account, you should be able to see the list, okay? So anyone who hasn't done that, that's really the first thing we encourage them to do. College Board's website, Big Future, has similar functionality. The difference is we can't view that and you can't view that. So we encourage them to use every resource out there available to them, but if it's in school links, we can look at it, we can talk to them about it, we can provide suggestions based on what it is they've already liked, things like that, okay? And then we want to encourage them to do more research. Don't just heart a school on school links and then come see me and say, these are my 10 schools I'm going to look at. Well, what do you know about that? Well, I don't know, school links said it was for me. That's not where the process ends, that's where the process starts, right? So we want to encourage students, and I'll show you a slide in a couple about what information is available on school links, but in addition to what information is available on school links, we really want you digging into those college websites, okay? The college websites are the best information. It is the most up-to-date information. It is the college's way of explaining to you what they're about, okay? A lot of the colleges' websites got much better over COVID, okay? They put virtual college tours. They put Q&A with current students. There's a lot of information there, but you've got to spend the time. Okay? So that's really what the students should be doing now. The other things to consider as you're reviewing this list of schools are things like academic fit. A lot of times, and this is going to sound crazy, but it has happened. It'll be May of senior year, and the student will say, so I decided to go to blank, and I just found out they don't have my major. What? Right? So these are students who liked the look of the school or liked that their friends were going there and applied, but never even thought about whether it had what they were looking for academically, right? So you really want to kind of front end this research. Do they have what you want to study? And when you go to those college websites, you can go into much more detail than just, do they have environmental science or do they have psychology? Because environmental science is made up of environmental conservation, or it might be, there's lots of different, I can never say this word right, so I'm going to say it wrong, focuses that different programs can have, right? So I always use the example, my nephew wants to be a zookeeper. We were like, okay, every school has zoology. I can't study zoology. What? Right? And basically what it built down to is a lot of zoology programs were preparing students for vet school, and that's not what he wanted. Okay, so we eventually figured out he actually wanted a program in animal behavior. So again, it's not something you would know unless you read the detail. When you go to the college website and you click on zoology and you read about what they offer and you find out that's not what I want. Okay, so we really do want you to front end that research so that you're not stuck in senior year. Look at your GPA, look at your test score, look how it lines up with the school's averages. We'll give you a tool to do that in just a minute. Personal fit. Obviously, you are going to college to study, but we don't want you to personally be unhappy while you're doing this. Okay. So you do have to consider the geography of the school. You were raised, most of you, primarily in an urban area. Some of you are very eager to experience something different. Some of you don't want to be more than 3 blocks from a Starbucks, okay? So you really have to think about that. And will you be comfortable in it? Okay, I can't answer that for you. You really have to have those conversations with yourself. Do I feel comfortable here? Do these seem like students I would want to spend my time with, right? So for example, are you very, very social, very into dance, and this school is all about football and there's no dance team and students don't go to dances, or whatever. You really want to think about, what do you do outside of the classroom, and does this school offer that to you? Okay. And then lastly, or probably most importantly for the parents, is the financial fit, right? Sticker price is not what you're going to pay. Sticker price will always look overwhelming. There's no way to know exactly what you are going to pay until the whole FAFSA process is completed, but there are ways to get estimates. Every college website is required to have a net price calculator. This will ask you some limited financial questions, not social security number, not name, but questions about family income, about assets, just some general approximation numbers to give you an idea of what age you would be eligible for at that school. Obviously, these are just estimates, but we do encourage students to do these so that you're not only applying to schools where these estimates are more than your family can afford to pay. Okay, you really want to be careful. Okay, and then lastly, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but lastly, you then have to narrow the list, right? Throughout this process, we see lists grow and shrink. So as you're researching schools, you found 10 schools you love, all of which are probably too expensive. Keep a couple of them if you want, but the rest have to come off, and you have to add schools that you can afford, right? So there's this constant ebb and flow of your list. We do have some resources here to help you with that. Again, these hyperlinks are all live when you get your copy of the presentation, but we do encourage them to enter senior year with approximately 5 to 10 schools that they want to apply to. Okay, so all this research has been done and they're ready to apply. Okay, so this is a screenshot of University of Illinois' page on schools, just to give you a very brief idea of the types of information you'll see. So there's just a general overview in the center, but then you can see all those links along the side. There's general information about cost, about what academic programs are offered, what athletic programs are offered. So all of those are links. All of this is on School Links. It's a great place to start your research. But remember, if you like what you see when you're doing this research, we then encourage you to go directly to that school's website, to go on a tour of that school, so on and so forth. Okay. If you were to hit the admissions tab right down here at the bottom, a couple more tabs in, it'll ask you if you want to view the scattered links. This refers back to what we were talking about with the academic fit. Scattergrams are data points of former Lincoln Park students who applied to this school. So these dots all represent Lincoln Park students that applied to U of I or admission. Along the bottom is their SAT score. Along the left-hand side is their weighted GPA. The green dots are students that were admitted, and the red dots are students that were not. Okay. So we want students to look at this information specifically because it is Lincoln Park students. Sometimes when you look at nationally published averages, you're comparing apples to oranges, right? They'll say the average GPA is 3.8, and you'll say, oh, I have a 4.4. Yeah, but they meant unrated, and you didn't, right? So it's really helpful to use this Lincoln Park data when you're making your list, because it is going to be the students that are most similar to you. Does that make sense? Again, none of this is 100% predictive, but it does give you an idea of where you fit. You're always going to find things like a red dot in the middle of the green, right? Like all of these people got in, why didn't they? You're also always going to find this random green dot all the way over there. How did that happen, right? So there's always outliers. Remember Mr. Merle's sorting name. This guy might be named Gates. Or this guy might play that oboe, right? Or he might be from Idaho. I don't know, obviously it's not, but you understand, okay? When you see the red in the circles of green, it could have been a bad letter of recommendation, right? That could be me that cheated on my AP US history something, right? Or more likely it could be an engineering student that applied to the most competitive major, whereas all the green around them were English, right? You just don't know. But it is still information. Okay, again, this is just a few additional resources. These are videos. We put this together during COVID when students couldn't do the in-person visits, but I do think they are still useful. So when you get this presentation, there are several videos here that you may find helpful. And lastly, we strongly encourage you to plan actual visits wherever possible. The virtual visits are great, and they are a great place to start, but there's no substitute for stepping on campus, for seeing what the dorms look like, for seeing what the lab facilities look like if you want to study science, right? For seeing what the library looks like. I mean, there's no substitute for feeling what it feels like. Remember that you're going to live there for 4 years. Okay, so you want to make sure that it is someplace you're going to be comfortable. Tours will usually take you to all these places, to the dorms, to the cafeteria, to classrooms, to the athletics. They're obviously going to highlight what they want you to see, but you can ask to see other things. You can also ask to meet with representatives from certain departments. So again, especially if there's something very specific you want to study, ask to meet with someone from that department to have the conversation about whether they have what works for you. It's very common with musicians, for example. You want to meet with the clarinet instructor if you want to study clarinet there for 4 years, right? You don't just want to like the school, you want to like the person you're going to be working with most closely. Okay, so those are all things to consider. Okay, so we are offering individual college planning meetings with our students. I know most of us posted this information sometime last week, I believe. There is a short survey that your students need to do first. It truly is short. It asks what they're thinking about studying, have they considered any schools, what are they thinking about geographically. It's not very long. It's just a little bit of background information so that your counselor can get prepared for the meeting. Okay, so once your student does that survey and it is in their counselor's Google Classroom, they can then use their counselor's appointment site to make an appointment. We are asking that they leave at least 2 days between when they finish the survey and they make the appointment. It never fails that someone finishes it at 10 o'clock at night and makes the 8 a.m. appointment the next morning, and I'm like, huh? You know, give us time to read what you wrote. Hopefully you took time to write something meaningful to us, so give us time to review it, okay? So once you finish that survey, make an appointment. If at least a couple days later, we do ask that the student come to our office in person, but we are happy to send a meet link to the parent if they want to join virtually. Parents are also welcome to come in person. It's also fine if the student just wants to do it themselves. Okay? And then these, the students should have these, but these are our email addresses as well as our. Oh no, I'm still making that too. Lastly, testing. I believe it's April 9th, but it's the first week of April. Your students will be taking the SAT here at Lincoln Park. That is free of charge. The state of Illinois provides one SAT for all Illinois students. However, some students do choose to test more than once, okay? So retesting is 100% optional. It is at the national test sites. We only offer the test here that one day. So if a student wants to retest, they do have to go to the College Board's website for the SAT or ACT's website for the ACT. They do need to register for a national Saturday administration. Whitney Young tends to do them, St. Ignatius tends to do them, DePaul Rex tends to do them. So you just kind of have to find a site convenient for you. And it is approximately $50 for a retest. If the students qualify for a waiver, we can issue a waiver code, so we have them ask their counselor if that's pretty good for you. Okay. And then really quick, back up at the top there where it says due to the COVID pandemic. During COVID, you may remember all the SATs were canceled, and so colleges had to pivot, right? And a lot of colleges became what's called test option. There was already a test optional movement before COVID, where there were some colleges who were deciding that the essays and the transcript really were more helpful to them than the test scores. And so they started considering students, even if the students did not submit test scores. COVID really accelerated that, and almost all colleges went to test optional, meaning that students had the choice to submit their test score or not submit this test score. So we've kind of been in this arena where we've sat down and we've said, well, the average test score of that school is 1200, you got 1050, don't send it, right? So that is still the case for an awful lot of schools, but there is beginning to be a movement back. Some of the Ivy League schools have just announced that they are requiring test scores for applicants for the class of 2029, which would be your students. So there are some schools that are going back to requiring test scores, but there are still a large number out there that don't. So we are encouraging you, if you have a list of schools you're considering, look into their testing policy before you decide whether or not you're going to retake, right? Before you spend your money and spend your time preparing for a retake, find out if it's something you're going to need, okay? So again, college websites will have the most accurate, up-to-date information. Dartmouth, I believe, is the first one of the Ivies that fell, and they put out a long statement as to why, and a couple others have followed suit. So you can read that on their websites if you're interested. But there's also a link here to a website called Fair Test, which has done a really good job of summarizing testing policies and keeping it up to date. So you can check schools that you may be interested in. And then lastly, before I pass this off, our upcoming test dates. So the SAT is offered nationally again in May. Probably a little too soon. Your students may not know their April score yet. But there is another one in June, August, October. And then for students applying regular decision, there are some data. Okay. Next.
So college planning, that we have for the summertime and then for early fall. So during the summertime, the counselors are often during that period of time, and then students will be working with me on different things in regards to essays, understanding college applications, so on and so forth, right? So before students apply, we're finding your prospect colleges. So we mentioned earlier, students trying to get that list of colleges that they're thinking of going into between 5 and 10 schools. Okay, which email will you use? All right, you will need to check it regularly. So creating a new email, maybe a professional email that would be that would suffice in terms of a personal email that all information actually will be sent to from any college, scholarship, or any special program that you're looking to go into. So like rumshaker79@gmail.com, that's not work. Trust me, I had friends who had ones like that. I told them and they told me also with their level of respect to please change your email because that can mess things up for you. All right, please understand. Also too, in terms of applying, using your CPS email address, that only lasts for a year after you graduate. So this year, for the graduates, it's May 27th. So the year after that, May 27th, then it's going to be no more. So creating a new email, having all the information sent to that one, if it's both where the parent and student have access, that would be actually great, because then therefore you can see all of that information in the 60s and multiple. All right, so you can start an application. You can start application accounts to draft essays over the summer. That is correct. Most, if not all, applications for schools are online, either through these 4 common application sites. So the Common App, so that's a one-stop shop. Most schools have an application through them where you just literally add the school and then you fill out 4 or 5 sections that will have it where it's asking you about your test score, your grades, if you have a self-report, profile information, so information about your family, any activities that you're a part of here at the school or outside of the school, so things like that. Okay. Applying directly through the school's website. I went to Elmhurst College and University now, and when I applied directly to their website. Okay. There's a Common Black College application, so that's for all the historically Black schools. Then there's a coalition map. So there are multiple ways that students can actually apply. Then also too, college and career planning workshops we'll hold in the summer as well. That's actually with me. So what I'll do is I'll bring some college recruiters that I know that's still in the industry who work. I was a former college recruiter for 10 years at 4 different schools, private, public, small, medium, large. Okay. I keep those relationships so that I can get insight into what they're looking for, but then also too, when it comes to summer programming, they can also be used and then also as well being helped out, actually explaining to students about, hey, this is something I work with these other sentences. All right. So summer work with Mr. Young. So usually I'll host these on Tuesdays and Thursdays. It'll be for an hour and a half where I'll get a chance to explain the comment or my first one, essay writing session. So that would be with a college recruiter that if I know them, I would ask them to come out and actually present and also talk to students during that hour and a half session. Okay, explaining what it is, and then also to helping them fill out if they have any questions during that hour and a half session. All right, school links, exploration, and assessment completion. With school links being a new system and getting used to it, it has a lot of functionality for students and parents. So helping students understand how they can pull it on transcript, how they can locate the scholarships through school links, because they have a tab that says scholarship matching through financing. All right, and there's some assessments that help them figure out like, what type of careers that they can look for, information on what type of characteristics about them. So it's very actually very helpful. And then also lastly, career and exploration through the schooling system. So they have the opportunity. You can pull up a school or you can pull up the actual program if you're thinking of going in pre-med, if you're thinking of becoming a librarian, if you're thinking of becoming a teacher, you can pull up the schools that would have those majors actually, which is pretty cool. And I played around with myself. I had the opportunity to counselors as well to go through a student demo and go through each grade level. So I do it for like seniors just to see kind of how they can fill out a to-do list, where they have tasks, But I cover all this in the summertime, and usually I'll host these sessions the end of June and the whole month of June. And maybe more sessions in August. So please feel free to reach out to me. More than likely have my email. Keep shooting information your way. I don't care if you don't want it. I'm still sending it your way so you know that, so that you all can be informed about what's going on.
All right. So now a few more things to go over about this whole application process, how and where to apply. So Mr. Young was talking a little bit about the different types of applications. I know Ms. Murphy mentioned it as well. The common application is something that everyone should be aware of. So basically what happened was quite a few years ago now, someone realized this college application process can be overwhelming. And most colleges want a lot of the same information, right? Your name, your address, parents' information, that type of stuff. So what they did was they decided, you know what, let's be helpful. And of course, let's make a little money along the way. Luckily, most of the money that they get comes from the institutions, not from you. You still have to pay an application fee. But this allows you to put all that general information in once, and then that can go to a lot of the different schools. And so it does make it easier to apply. And at the last time I checked, I think it's over 900 schools are on the common application. And that number just keeps going up. So that is one way that you can apply. Some common schools on here are UNC, Urbana-Champaign, DePaul and Loyola, Northwestern, Boston College, University of Arizona, and Arizona State. Now, some schools are not on the common app, and you have to apply to those directly. And so if you look there, here we have Georgetown, University of California System, City Colleges of Chicago. All of these are schools you can apply to, but you don't use the common app. You use the school's own application system. You can usually find that on their website, on their admissions page. Pro tip, use the same email address for all of college applications. And just to reinforce what Mr. Young said, please have a professional email address. You'd be amazed at some ones that we see. When to apply. So most colleges are going to open their applications over the summer, usually around the beginning of August. What I want to reinforce to you though, is we don't want you to apply too early because we're not back from school or from summer yet. And so if you apply and there's a wide gap between when you apply and then when your supporting documents like your transcripts and everything come in, sometimes they have a hard time matching those up. So what we're requesting you to do is wait to hit that application. Get it done. Get everything in there, get your essays complete, get all of that done. Don't actually hit submit until we're back, because we want to make sure that everything gets sent relatively around the same time. And so what we say is no earlier than approximately September 15th, no later than the individual college deadlines. One of the things that you're going to hear time and time again, the more organized you are through this process, the less stress you will have. And so in here we have linked a spreadsheet that you can use to kind of help you keep organized. As you are doing your research, fill out the spreadsheet. If you ultimately decide you don't want to go to that school, it's easy to delete a line from a Google Doc. It's harder to do all your research, go somewhere else, then you have to come back and look up that information again. So as you do it, just mark that simple information down. But again, the other thing to talk about are different types of applications. So there are applications called early action and early decision. Whoever decided to do both of those and have them sound so similar, I would like to kick in the head because it gets really confusing really quickly. And so the best way to kind of think about it is early decision means you decided that's where you want to go if you get in. And what that means is if you apply to a school early decision, you have to sign a contract. And if you get in, you have to withdraw the rest of your applications. So early decision means you've decided that's where you're going to go if you get in. Early action is like a priority deadline. For EA and ED, for both of these, the acceptance rates are usually higher if you apply early than if you apply with regular decision. So it really does behoove you to apply using one of these applications because your chances of getting in are really better. Not to mention, you find out a lot sooner and you can get rid of some of that stress. So these are kind of things that we want you to think about as you go through. Regular decision is just your regular application. And then a lot of schools are on what's called rolling admission. Basically, with the previous ones, with the early decision, early action, and the regular decision, if you apply by this state, you find out by this state, and it's pretty cut and dry. With rolling admission, basically, they make decisions as they get their applications. So schools that are on rolling admission If you apply, you might find out a week later. You don't have to wait for that dreaded deadline and be sweating, and then that's when you check your email and hope for the best. But rolling admission, the other thing to know about that, as they have room, they will accept students. And so at the very beginning, they have a lot of room to fill in their class. So they might be a little more flexible with who they are accepting. If you wait to the end and they only have 25 seats, they're going to be a lot more selective. So all of these are ways to kind of consider how you apply, when you apply, and do it strategically. And then how do you keep track of deadlines? This is what I was talking about. We do have a link up here, a college application tracker that you can use. Feel free to make it your own. You can delete things, you can add things that make sense for you as you are doing your tracking. But, excuse me, use whatever works for you. Just please keep organized and keep track of that information. And then the high school transcript is the most important part of your college application. We did that whole activity here at the beginning. GPA is always going to be the #1 thing that they look at, but it's not the only thing. So you can see some of the other things that they look at, the strength of your curriculum. Now, we always get the question, is it better to get a B in an AP class or an A in an honors class? And our answer is always it's better to get an A in an AP class. What we want you to do is take classes that are meaningful to you. Take classes that support what you want to do. If you want to go into journalism and you don't take any AP English classes, college is going to wonder why. So think about what you might want to study and use that to really choose your classes, because that's going to, #1, make life a lot easier, because hopefully you're actually interested in the class that you take, because all AP and IB level classes are going to be challenging. But 2, it makes sense when a college looks at your transcript and sees what you took. We talked about admission test scores, the SAT and ACT, essay or writing sample. One of the things that I can't stress enough is colleges really do look at those essays and put a lot of weight into them. They don't want like the examples that I always give for the essays. If like the question is, tell me about someone who inspired you. They don't want a biography about Great Aunt Sally. They want to know about Great Aunt Sally, why she was important to you, but more importantly, how has that made you who you are today? The few things that I always talk about with essays is keep in mind the 70-30 rule. 70% needs to be about you, at least, 30% about the topic or the person that you chose to write about. But you're always bringing it back to you. The other 3 things that I always say I want to see when I'm going over essays with students: #1, why is it important to you? #2, how has it helped you change something about yourself or come to some realization or help you to be who you are today? And then #3, how is that going to help you be successful in the future? I know it sounds easy, those 3 points, but if you're really kind of following those guidelines, it's going to be a strong essay. One of my favorite stories from college counselor or admissions counselor that I know talks about an essay that they got one year that was from the activity, the one that they passed around the office and they loved. A young man wrote about asking a girl out on a date, and you know, it seems like a goofy topic, but he also kind of step-by-step compared that to the college application process. So getting up the courage to ask a girl out was like going up to the admissions counselor at the college fair. You know, taking the shower and putting on the deodorant and the cologne was like having a strong transcript. And each step of the way, he talked about, you know, how it related to the process. The college reps got a good sense of who he was. They saw that he was meaningful in what he did each step along the way, and they said it was a great essay. Now, don't go and use that exact example, but think about a way that you can put yourself into it and really kind of follow along those steps. All right, and then special applications. So if you're applying to an art school, #1, talk to your art teacher. Hopefully you're in art classes. But then look at the website here, Portfolio Day, for about National Portfolio Day. Athletics, there's the eligibility center. You want to make sure that you are going to be eligible for the athletics that you want to play. And then music and theater, again, talk to your appropriate teachers. One of the things, if you leave here tonight and the only thing that you take away from the hopefully you're taking a lot away, but if you realize, you know what, this is the beginning of the conversation, not the whole conversation, and you have lots of resources around the room, utilize us. We are here to help you. We don't expect you to do alone. It's for students and parents. Let us know what you need when you need it. I get so many emails like, oh, I don't remember you. This is literally my job. You're not bothering me. Please feel free to reach out and ask if you have questions along the way. All right. And then I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Phelan.
Hello, everyone. Mr. Answers here. Great to see you all this evening. We're going to talk about how we look at this in terms of timing and how to the process. So starting out, you'll see we're in spring 2024. Continue building that college list. Any college visits, especially for spring break, if you can. Identifying teachers who write you those good letters of recommendation. Please ask them first before they receive the link. That's good idea. And definitely, make sure that you give them a little bit more information so that they can write a stronger letter as well. Moving on, complete that post-secondary planning survey. That's what I'm referring to, giving teachers or giving counselors rather some more information about your students that we can write letters of recommendation, because some colleges do require us to write letters of recommendation as well. And then moving on to summer 2024, register for SAT retakes if you want to. And there are many, we just went through the dates earlier on, but definitely if you want to retake the exam, you should. Just a quick note on that, some colleges super score, which means they take the highest sub scores of 2 different tests, and give you an overall score. So it's to your benefit to do that. Moving on, I'll start your college application. You can do so, I think, coming up with August 1st. Gather documents needed for your FAFSA application. We kind of covered that already, but that'll be financial documents, IRS 1040 for taxes and such. Moving on, plan to talk with your counselor as well. We do need to write those letters of recommendations. Next. Okay, moving on to the fall. Now we've arrived. We're back from summer. The college application workshops, hopefully over the summer you attended some of those, but we will have one for the entire, we will not be seniors, no longer rising seniors. We will have that for you guys in the fall. There will be a family financial aid night as well. Please meet with us. We sound like open records, but please meet with us. Anytime you have questions, we're available in person, drop-ins, by appointment. Mr. Young is available in room 112, which is our neighbor basically in that part of the building. We're all located underneath the library. He is available during the lunch period every day. So definitely make sure we utilize all of our resources. Now, request teacher letters of recommendation as soon as you get back, if you can, to give teachers time to write those letters. Do not wait until the deadline to ask, please. They don't need the stress. You guys don't need the stress. There's enough to worry about. Now, moving on, complete those applications and essays and submit those documents by a deadline. Okay. So, attending fall workshops. We have senior college planning events held in September and October. We'll review deadlines, how to request documents on school links, how to complete applications, updating your senior checklist, providing an overview of all the requirements that you need to complete. And then also during our family financial aid night, we'll be going over the FAFSA, scholarships. One big resource just to put up there again is that next year, you guys should all, this is underutilized every year, you should all make accounts at CPS Academic Works next year when you return. That's where the CPS scholarships are located for our students. And stay tuned for the exact dates. We will put that out there. Mr. Young will send those emails he referred to. And we will send information both in English and Spanish. Y yo hablo español, entonces si tienen preguntas, ¿puedo ayudar? Bien. Gracias, thank you very much. Preguntas, questions?
Some schools require,
Yes.
okay? But it's the reason that we require, so 2 things we want them to do. Yeah. Go ahead.
So if you don't really know that much.
So again, that's what I started saying. We have a short survey we want to do with them now before we meet with them. We have a longer survey we ask them to do over the summer and then we meet with them again. So we do make an attempt to include in our letter the information that the students want us to. But that's why those surveys and those meetings are. I'm Ms. Murphy. No. So what we recommend to students for test optional schools is that they submit their test score if it will be a positive in their application. So if the average is 1,200 at that school and they have a 1050, we do not recommend they submit. But if the average is 12 and they have a 1350, we absolutely suggest they submit.
So it's a strategic decision.
Also, as you make your college list, don't feel like you have to make that determination on your own. That's a great time to set up a meeting with the counselor and say, okay, this is my list, this is the score. Can we look through like the scattergrams on Navi and let's figure out what schools does it make sense to use those scores for, and what's the schools
Schools.
schooling, sorry. They get started. Well, some teachers write letters of recommendation over the summer, so feel free to talk to those teachers before the end of the school year and say, you know, would you be willing to write me a letter of recommendation? 9 times out of 10, they appreciate the heads up, and it'll get a lot done before school gets back.
When we talk about inviting in the fall, we're talking about the technical piece. Most of the times, the students have had those conversations with the teachers earlier, and then when they come back in the fall, we have to help them do the technical invitation so that the teacher has the portal to send it. Depends on the school. The most is usually 2.
And some schools will not even look at letters of recommendation. So like University of Illinois or Urbana-Champaign, they don't want it, they won't look at it, they ask you not to send it, they get enough stuff. So, as you go through, that's the spreadsheet that I referenced before. That's one of the columns on there. So as you're doing the research, you can put in, won't look at letters of recommendation, or needs a counselor and 1 teacher, whatever it might be, so that you have all that in one place.
Another clear way to look at it is you're starting as a senior next week. Are you gonna ask the teacher that you've been with for 3 weeks, or you've been with a whole year, or perhaps even 2 teams? So I would say definitely, would you, especially in those early applications that are due by November 1st, probably asking the junior teachers, but because they know you. School mix is for
I don't think we really went into that detail. Schoolings is basically, they do their college research on, or they do a lot of college research on there, but that's also where we send our transcripts and send our letters of recommendation. So counselors and teachers will upload their letters into Schoolings, and then that's how we send it out.
It's not as common, but there are some schools that still do. I think if the school asks them to do it, it absolutely is important how they do it, but it is much less.
also.
The other thing is, some schools, as you go through this process, sometimes you will see things that are like optional essay. If it says optional, please do it. Like they say optional, but it's gonna tell them the difference between someone who's gonna go above and beyond the minimum or just do the minimum. Obviously, we want to be the above and beyond.
Follow up to the question. So the common app is not triggered any of these things? Like what?
So the common app gets linked to schools. It all becomes connected.
Students link the two, and so Schoolings will be able to tell when someone submits through their common app because they talk.
Again, the reason why you should use the same email.
Yes.
Teacher that's not like private.
Yes, as long as it is a teacher. So it can't be, there's different types of letters of recommendation, right? When we're talking about a teacher letter, it has to be someone that taught the student. So if they transferred here from a private school, they absolutely can have one of their teachers from the private school do one of their skills. So if it's a private music teacher, not like an academic during the day teacher, that would go under a category called other recommender. And if they're applying for music school, they can still submit those, but it doesn't replace a regular teacher. Say it again.
Yes.
Yes. As long as they have an email.
I know we are at 7:30. We can stick around and answer questions, but before you leave, we do ask that you do the program evaluation. This helps us make sure that we are giving you the information that you need. So we do ask that you complete that. If you're able to tonight, we'd love it. If you want to do it at a later time, like I said, this slide deck, these slide decks from the scholarship and the ISAC representatives will be shared as well. So like I said, if you missed something up here, don't panic. All this will be sent out tomorrow along with the video. Will be posted on the website. The Lincoln Park High School website, yeah. And we usually send out a link saying, here's where it is. So, yeah, so schools will accept either the SAT or ACT. Reason why we talk about the SAT more is because they're the ones that have the fancy contract with Illinois. So to graduate from Lincoln Park, you actually have to take the school-based SAT. The ACT is another test, you can take it. What we usually talk about with students is the differences between the two, and I'll give you just a brief rundown. So the SAT is a lot more reasoning based, which means you read a passage, use the information, you kind of process what you read and use that information to answer the questions. Whereas the ACT is really set up more to see a question, kind of move through and know the answers. So there's more questions on the ACT than there are on the SAT because of the way it's set up. Now, you know your students or students, you know yourselves best. Think about how you test better. That might help you say, okay, I know I have to take the SAT, but I do a lot better at seeing the question, knowing the answer, and kind of going through those questions. So maybe I might want to take these. But that's kind of the Cliff Notes version of it.
So you have to request, like through his email, you have to request to get information about those scholarships. Then you can complete them, usually within the body of the application. If they want a transcript, they'll say, what is your accounts receivable address, right? And then we get those emails from the scholarship organizations and send.
Everything is accessible in schools. All the scholarships that CPSS offer,
Yeah.
they are not going to house in schools.
Yeah, so then you can just click on the link.
Well, again, thank you for coming out. We really appreciate your participation. Like I said, this is the beginning of conversations, not the entirety of them. So please reach out with questions as we go through. We are here to help. And thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for coming.
I'm glad it stayed.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Sounds
good. Sure.